You're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at www.xzoneradio.com.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates and growing family across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, 24 Asian countries, and across Europe. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. Email is xzone@talkstarradio.com, and our websites, xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Patrick Heron, who was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1952. When he was 24 years old, he had a Saul on the road to Damascus type of epiphany while reading the Bible. Thus began his Christian walk. He became interested in Bible prophecy concerning the end times in about 1966. Now, in 1997, X-Zone Nation, his first book, Apocalypse Soon, was published and became a bestseller in Ireland. It entered the Irish bestsellers list after an interview with Garth O'Callaghan on RTE Radio, who said he read it in one sitting and was gripped. Another book, The Apocalypse Generation, was also a success. There has been recently amazing interest to date in his new book, The Nephilim and the Pyramid of Apocalypse, published by Kensington Publishing, which Patrick believes is the first ever book proving overwhelmingly who built the pyramids and why. Now, Patrick holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Arts in Business Studies from Trinity College in Dublin. He also holds a degree in theology and recently received an honorary doctorate in Christian literature from the California Pacific School of Theology, Glendale, California, as a result of research done in his book, The Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse. Now, Dr. Heron is the executive producer of a TV special entitled Apocalypse and the End of Times, which is a Grizzly Adams production. This has been shown all over the United States and is currently available on DVD in stores nationwide. Now, Patrick owns and runs his own company in Dublin, Ireland, where he lives with his family. He is not associated with any particular church or denomination. And tonight we're going to be talking to Patty about his new book, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. And Patty, welcome back to the X Zone. How are you, my friend?
Rob, lovely to speak to you again. Greetings to all your listeners from the Emerald Isle.
Hey, congratulations on a fantastic new book. Your e-book.
Yes, I'm delighted with it. It's only out a number of weeks, and already I'm getting fantastic reviews back from people. I got 3 yesterday, and one guy said he read 18 chapters, and then he went to bed and got up and finished the book. People are reading it in one sitting. It's if anybody has read my last book, which was the Nephilim and the Pyramid of the Apocalypse, which was all about the fallen angels of Genesis 6, and the importance of the Great Pyramid of Giza with regard to prophecies that are written in the Book of Revelation and the future New Jerusalem, which is to come down out of heaven from God in the new heaven and earth after the apocalypse is over in the future, which I spoke to you about before. Well, this new book is called The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order, and it's like part 2. It takes the whole story about the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and their reappearance and reemergence here on earth in the near coming apocalypse, and it takes it to a new level.
All right, we're going to talk about that level when we come back from this 2-minute commercial break, Patty. Always great talking to you, my friend. Patty Heron is our special guest. We're talking about his new book, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's an ebook, Exonation. It's available at www.neph.ie. That's neph.ie. Patrick Heron and I return on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue live and around the world, even in Ireland, on the Talkstar Radio Network.
Her eyes, they shone like the diamonds. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulders, tied up with a black velvet band. In a neat little town they call Belfast.
Patrick Heron is our special guest, and Patty, your ebook, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order, is very well done. What makes your book unique?
Well, what makes this unique, Rob, is that what I'm doing is I'm going to the Scriptures, and I'm allowing the Scriptures define and interpret who this character is. What a lot of the reason I wrote this book, to be honest with you, is there's a lot of articles and a lot of blogs on the internet at the moment, all speculating as to who this Antichrist is. Now, believe it or not, Antichrist is the most Googled word in the world at the moment. And I printed in Antichrist and looked it up on Google, and there was over 1 billion hits in there, and this is several weeks ago, for Barack Obama being the Antichrist, and several other millions and millions and millions. It's the most Googled word. There's huge interest in who this coming world leader is at the moment. But I got a little bit fed up listening to people ranting on about who this particular person is, because all the way down through history, people have been speculating as to who the Antichrist is. I mean, it began in the first centuries with people thinking that it was Nero, the original Christians, then some of the Caesars, various popes as you came up through history were identified as being the Antichrist. Then in later days we had Stalin and Hitler and Mao Zedong of China. Even more recently, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, Ayatollah Khomeini, Vladimir Putin. Then, of course, Tony Blair in England, Bill Clinton, even Hillary Clinton, they're thought was the Antichrist, George Bush. And, of course, many, many evangelicals in America and around the world today think that the president of America, Barack Obama, is indeed the Antichrist because he's so suave and so good-looking and so eloquent and is so charismatic. So what makes my book unique is I ignored everything that's going on in the news and everything that's happened on the world political stage. And I went back into the Scriptures and I just looked at everything in there pertaining to this man. And I allowed the Scriptures interpret and tell us all the clues we need to know about this character so that when he does appear, we can know for a surety that this is he. Now, the words the Antichrist are only used twice in the whole of Scripture. The word Antichrist is used 4 times, all in John's epistles, but the Antichrist is only used twice. But when you get to the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse, which specifically talks about this character when he arrives and his various activities, he's never called the Antichrist. In the book of Revelation, he's called the Beast from the Abyss. In fact, to give him his full title, he's called the Beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So my book, or this new ebook, which, by the way, it's just $5 to download, this new ebook tells you everything you need to know about the beast from the abyss with 7 heads and 10 horns. Who the beast is, why is he called the beast, what is the bottomless pit, why does he have to ascend out of it, what do the 7 heads represent, what are the 10 horns are. I will tell you what his name is, where he presently is, when he will emerge from his present abode, and all these, and also a very, very important one, his association with the United States of America in prophecy. Many, many prophecy writers who talk on this subject of the eschatology and end times prophecies say that the United States is not mentioned in prophecies at all. Well, I can tell you that they are absolutely wrong. The United States is all over Revelation chapter 17 and 18. And if we get around to talking about that, Rob, I'll give you all the hints and clues that it gives you about the United States, and you can tell me specifically what it is talking about. So my book is an in-depth study on the beast from the abyss having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's what makes it unique.
Now, you write in your book that the Bible is not just for the highly educated. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is if you go to read the 4 Gospels, just on a cursory reading, for instance, you will find the people that were always trying to trap the Messiah, who were always arguing with him, always trying to back him into a corner, those who organized his betrayal, his kangaroo court, his torture, and his ultimate murder, were the chief priests, the Pharisees, and the doctors of theology. If you were like, they were the priests and the bishops and the theologians of the day. The people that believed in the Messiah and that he hung out with, where Peter was a fisherman, Mark was a shepherd, John was well educated, I think he was a tax collector, Luke was a doctor. They were regular people. They weren't the highly educated theologians with doctorates after their name. And, you know, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. Nothing has changed. We're going through a terrible episode in Ireland here at the moment with a report that came out about the abuse of children in orphanages in Ireland in the 30s, 40s and 50s, which is just absolutely disgusting. It'd make you want to throw up. You can't eat your dinner when you read this report of the abuse that happened to little kids in orphanages in Ireland, in this country. And I'm often reminded, and it was done at the hands of the religious, by the way, and of course you know it's happened all over America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, everywhere. Yeah. Horrible scandals. You wouldn't believe that stuff come out, where they're calling it Ireland's Holocaust over here. And it's all done at the hands of the religious. And nothing has changed, as they say in French, plus ça change. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah. So it was the people with the tall hats and the long robes who were up in the pulpits at the weekends who did the Messiah down when he was around, and nothing has really changed. So if you have doctorates and things like that, then it might be a disadvantage to you reading my book. My book is for ordinary lay people who can read and who want to know what's coming down the tubes. So that's what I mean by that statement.
The Antichrist will be able to do miraculous wonders as Jesus did when he was here in physical form, Patty. Does this fact cancel out our world leaders today as the Antichrist?
Yes, it does, absolutely. I show all the things it says about the Antichrist when he comes. The first thing we have to know is that this guy is a man, not a woman. He's going to be a man, but not just an ordinary human being man as we know them. I'll give you quickly a list of some of the things it says of him. It says the first thing he's going to be is a huge deceiver. He's going to con everybody. The vast majority of the people in the world will back him up when he comes. He's going to be so charismatic and so eloquent. He's going to perform signs and wonders, just like the Messiah did, and it says that the people will be astonished. For instance, it says in Revelation 17, the beast which you saw once was, speaking of this man, the beast which you saw once was, now is not, and will come up out of the abyss and go to his destruction. The inhabitants of the world, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come. He is going to con everybody by his lying signs and wonders. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns water into wine, and if he feeds the hungry of the world, with a very, very little, and walks on the water and does all sorts of things like that. Another thing that's going to have to happen to this coming I almost said Messiah there, but he's actually, Antichrist means in the stead of Christ. It doesn't necessarily mean against Christ. It means in the stead of. This guy, when he comes, he's going to be accepted as the true Messiah. That's what Antichrist means. And at one point he will die and he'll be raised from the dead. This is a sort of a counterfeit resurrection whereby people will believe in this, because I think it'll be seen on CNN and Sky and Fox all over the world. He's going to be possibly assassinated, but he will die and he will be raised from the dead. He's going to broker a peace deal between the Jews and her Arab neighbours. That's going to mark the beginning of the apocalypse. He's going to kill two men that will arise up, two prophets of God, which are called the two witnesses in Revelation. He's going to kill them, and 3.5 days later they're going to be raised from the dead in the eyes of all the world. He's going to have a lieutenant working with him, which is called in prophecy the false prophet, who's going to be sort of a religious type guy, whereas the Antichrist will be a political leader. And together they will be able to make an image of the beast come alive, it says, and if anybody doesn't worship this image, which is like an icon or a statue, if they do not take the mark of the beast, which is a mark in the right hand or on the forehead, whereby people won't be able to buy or sell or do business unless they have this mark, they will be killed. And it says that the false prophet will be able to make this image come alive, which is going to be a pretty astonishing thing. Another interesting thing it says about him, amongst other hints regarding this guy, it says in one enigmatic prophecy back in the book of Daniel, it says, he will not regard the desire of women. Now, when I read this, it says he will not regard the desire of women. Does that mean he will regard the desire of men? So he may be gay. That's a new one for you coming out there. He may be. So this is not an ordinary gentleman, an ordinary human being, an ordinary guy that is on the world stage as we look at it and we're pondering, is this he, is that he, is it the president of the EU, is it really Barack Obama? It is absolutely not. It is a guy who's in the bottomless pit, and he has to come out of this place called the bottomless pit. And that's what takes us back to what we talked about the last time I was on your show, which are the Nephilim, or the fallen angels of Genesis 6.
What did Gabriel tell Daniel, which is chronicled in the book of Daniel, about the time of the end? And is there a distinction between the tribulation and the great tribulation?
I don't believe there's a distinction between the tribulation and the great tribulation. There are a lot of phrases in Scripture, about the Old Testament and New Testament, which talk about or describe this coming time of the end, which we call the apocalypse, and the things that occur in the book of Revelation. It's called the day of wrath, it's called the day of tribulation, the day of vengeance, the Lord's day, the day of his burning anger, the great and terrible day of the Lord, the day of a cruel day with wrath and fierce anger, the day of Jacob's trouble, which associates it with the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. So the great tribulation and the tribulation, to me, are all the one time. Some people trying to split them up, but I don't think so. I think it's all the one period of time, which we are talking about, the end times, the last days, which we are approaching now, in my opinion. And what this whole thing about the beast from the bottomless pit, and what the bottomless pit, as I just mentioned, takes us back to, you might remember, Genesis chapter 6, where it talked about the sons of God, the Nephilim, coming on the earth and having sex with ordinary human women, way back about 1,000 years prior to the flood of Noah. And they produced offspring, and these offspring were the giants of the Old Testament.
Patty, stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. Patty Heron is our special guest. You can get a copy of this ebook for $5, X-Zone Nation, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's available at www.neph.ie. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
If you currently have a short-term fixed-rate home mortgage, you do need to listen to this. The mortgage industry is rapidly changing, and no one knows that better than your friends in the money business, Prime Pacific Capital. Every day, new guidelines are making it more and more difficult for homeowners to refinance the current mortgage. Don't get caught with the high interest rate and increased payments once that loan automatically adjusts. Interest rates are still low. Call Prime Pacific Capital today and refinance into a long-term, low-rate fixed mortgage. No matter what your credit situation or what state you live in, Prime Pacific Capital will work to secure a new loan for you. Don't count yourself out until you give us a call. A loan specialist is standing by to assist you with your free consultation. Make that call today. 1-866-464-1800. 1-866-464-1800. Call Prime Pacific Capital at 1-866-464-1800.
Douglas James Cottrell, who has been called Canada's Edgar Casey, has just made available his latest CD, Douglas Cottrell 2012 Earth Changes, the first CD in the 2012 Prophecy series. This session features information gathered from the Akashic Records in a deep trance meditation session by Douglas James Cottrell in March of 2009. In this session, Douglas explains changes that have taken place in the Earth's core, changes to the Earth's poles, and the real reason why the polar caps are melting. Douglas also elaborates on increased volcanic and earthquake activity between now and 2012, including what, where, and when. To order your copy of Douglas Cottrell 2012 Earth Changes, visit his website at douglasjamescottrell.com or call toll-free 877-COTTREL.
You're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at www.xzoneradio.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Patty Heron is our special guest this hour. He is the author of a new ebook, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's available at www.neph.ie. That's www.neph.ie. In these days, Patty, we should be vigilant to be aware of false prophets. Now, how do you see the biblical domination playing out today? What type of false prophets do you see in our world?
Well, over the last number of years, last couple of decades, we've seen all sorts of people pop up who appear to be leaders, religious leaders. The ones that spring to mind immediately are David Koresh down there in Waco, Texas, who, had all his disciples believe that he was the Messiah.
Yes.
Then there was the guy, Jim Jones, wasn't it, in California, who brought all those people down to South America and murdered them all, or most of them committed suicide, or he murdered them. There's a guy at the moment in the States called Maitreya. He apparently was promoting himself as the true Messiah. And then, of course, we have various religious leaders in the world today who, espouse themselves as being representative of Christ and his, bodily presence on earth. I don't have to mention too many names, and you'll know who I'm talking about. these are the type of people. Even the likes of President Obama at the moment, he was being held in such awe by people, and the things that happened before he became president, the description of people saying he was Messiah-like, and the hairs on the back of their neck used to stand up when he spoke, and this type of cult leadership, not just in religious and political terms, even in religious terms, we'll hear everything now about Michael Jackson. It will be wall to wall for the next few weeks, and
exactly.
What a fantastic guy he was, and despite his history. So, that's the type of thing I'm talking about, cult leaders that rise up and this. And the first thing that we're always told about them in Matthew 24, when they asked the Messiah what would be the signs of the end times, he said, many will come in my name and will deceive many. And then he spoke about one who would come in his name, which is talking about this Antichrist, who would say, I am the Messiah. Because we're told, he said himself in, I think it's John chapter 5, even as the world rejects me when I come in my own name, you will accept this other guy when he comes in his name. And when this guy appears on the world, the vast majority of the people in the world are going to be astonished when they see him. They're going to be deceived by his lying signs and wonders, which he will perform in front of the whole world, together with this other chap called the false prophet. And they will deceive almost everybody in the whole world, but not quite. A lot of people are going to see through him. And that's one of the reasons I've written this book, Rob, is because I want it to be for a legacy for the people who will be around during this coming apocalypse, so that they can know without a doubt that this is not the beautiful, iconic, charismatic world leader that he makes himself out to be. But I think it's imperative that we'll give you a quick synopsis of what the bottomless pit is and how he got there. And this, as I was speaking before the break, is to do with the fallen angels, the Nephilim, coming to earth about 1,000 years prior to the flood of Noah. Beautiful-looking beings appeared on the earth, supernatural, powerful beings, which were fallen angels. That's what Nephilim means. It means the fallen ones. They had sex with ordinary human women, and the offspring they produced were giants in size. And we're told that these guys descended in Mount Hermon in the days of Jared, which is around 1,200 years prior to the flood of Noah. And by the time the flood came, they had infected and affected DNA of almost everybody in the whole world, the whole population at that time, which could have been 20, 30 million people. And it says only Noah and his family, only 8 souls were not infected by the DNA of these fallen angels. And it said that the things were very bad in those days, that there was so much evil and violence and bloodshed that there was only evil in man's heart continually. And God said, I've had enough of this. So he said, he sent the flood and he drowned all these people, drowned the offspring of these fallen angels. But you cannot drown spirit men, because that's what angels are. They're men, but they're spirit men. You and I are flesh and blood. But these guys, angels per se, are spirit. Therefore, they're not constrained by the ordinary laws of physics as we are. But they look like us. That's why it says several times in Genesis, let us make man in our image. In the image of God made he man. Everywhere angels appeared throughout Scripture, Old Testament and New, they're always called men. They look like men. They dress like men. They eat, they drink, and apparently this particular bunch, 200 according to the book of Enoch, that descended in the days of Jared, had sex with women. They were able to reproduce. So they're spirit men. That's what they are. So we're told that these spirit men, when the flood happened, they're locked up and were in this subterranean prison, which is called in the Bible, it's called the bottomless pit or the abyss. And it's once in the epistles in Peter, it's called Tartarus or Tartarus. And this, of course, ties in with the Greek and Roman mythology, where we're told that the gods are imprisoned in Tartarus because they tried to rebel against Zeus. And, of course, these fallen angels coming to earth and having sex with women is where we get all our Greek and Roman mythology, which talks about the gods coming down from heaven. They lived in Mount Olympus and Delphi. Zeus came down. He took Alcmene to wife, a mortal woman. She almost died giving birth to Hercules. That's where all this stuff comes from. And, of course, that's why we have the legacy of all these buildings around the world, which there's no accounting for, such as the pyramids in Egypt, all the temples around the Middle East. We've the giant heads in Easter Island. We've Angkor Wat in Cambodia. We have huge pyramids in Mexico. We've got several other anomalies all around the world, like the Nazca Lions and the pyramids in Peru. This is the legacy they left behind for us. So these fallen angels are locked up in this place called the subterranean, or called the Tartarus, or the bottomless pit. And in Peter, we're told that the Messiah, in his risen body, went and preached to these spirits who are in prison, who caused the sin in the days of Noah. So the Messiah, Jesus, went to these guys in his new spiritual body, where after he got up from the dead, he had this new body. He could go in and out through walls and things like that. And it says he went and preached to these spirits. As I said, this is what angels are. They're spirit beings, but they are still men. And that preached is that he wasn't trying to get them saved or anything, because these people are pure evil. That preached is the Greek word caruzo, which means he heralded his triumph over them, which is the same word would be used of, for instance, some Roman emperor coming back from a foreign campaign and displaying his captives and his treasures that he brought back before the citizens of Rome. He heralded his triumph over them. In the same way, that's what the Messiah done when he appeared to these guys that are locked up in this bottomless pit. But in the coming apocalypse, in chapter 9, we're told that this bottomless pit is going to be opened. In 9:1 it says, "And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And out of this pit come locusts and serpents," which are figures of speech for these spirit beings, these angels. And it actually gives us, as I said in the beginning in the introduction of my book, my e-book, The Return of the Antichrist, which anybody can go and read on my website, by the way. It will give you a flavor of this book. I say in there that I can name, because it actually gives us the name of this coming Antichrist, and that's in verse 11, and it says, speaking about these locusts or serpents or spirit beings, fallen angels, it says they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. And Apollyon in Greek, Apollyon, is how the Greeks spell who we would call Apollo. And Apollo, as you know, was one of the original leaders of the original pantheon of Greek gods who reigned and who lived in Greek and Roman mythology
the sun god.
1,000 years prior to the flood, along with Mars, Saturn, Pluto, Mercury, Zeus, Poseidon, Jupiter, Venus, Orion, and the rest of those spirit men. They are going to be released onto the earth again, and it's this guy called Apollyon, or Abaddon, whom we know as Apollo, and by the way, his name means the destroyer. It says he goes to his destruction. That doesn't mean he's destroyed. It means by the end of the apocalypse, he's going to have destroyed most of the earth. You know, possibly up to as many as half or 2/3 of the population of the earth will be dead by the end of the apocalypse, which could be 2-3 billion people in today's terms. And this is who the beast from the abyss is. This is the guy we call the Antichrist, but as I said, he's called the beast from the abyss 35 times in the book of Revelation, and it says he's going to ascend out of the bottomless pit having 7 heads and 10 horns. And this is who this guy is. He's a spirit being. That's why it's not any political leader that's around today, and it's not Barack Obama, or it's not Tony Blair, you know, or it's not anybody like that, the head of the EU. It's this spirit man, this fallen angel, who comes up out of the bottomless pit and having supernatural powers, supernatural abilities, whereby he will be able to deceive most of the people on the earth at that time. And it is none other than who we would call the Greek god Apollo of yore. And Apollo, in Greek mythology, was the epitome of the beauty of men. He was the god of prophecy, of music, of medicine. He had his oracle at Delphi in Greece, which is an incredible sight. And that is who's coming back, and that's why he's called the beast from the abyss.
When do you see this happening, Pat?
Well, I think it's close, you know. I mean, it's a day closer today than it was yesterday. The last time I spoke to you was over a year ago, or maybe more. We're that much of a time closer to it.
Is there a connection between the apocalypse and the end of the Mayan calendar?
I don't know. You know, I never put dates on anything, Rob, because the Messiah said no man knows the hour or the day. The interesting thing about the Mayan calendar, which ends apparently on the 21st of December in 2012, there's a connection between that and a site called Newgrange here in Ireland, which is exactly 30 minutes from where I'm sitting now, which is a huge, big Neolithic site. It's a big round sort of a tomb with grass on it. There's one little opening. You've got to bend down and creep into this and go into the middle of this chamber, and in the middle there's a round sort of chamber in there where they found charred bones originally, so it might have been a place of sacrifice. But the interesting thing about Newgrange is that it's on one day of the year, which is the 21st of December, every year when the sun rises, it illuminates this inner chamber of this site in Newgrange in Ireland. Just on one day of the year this happens. And that's the 21st of December, which is the winter solstice. That's what's the only thing that connects it with the Mayan calendar, which apparently ends on the 21st of December 2012. So I don't know if there's a connection between this and that. What I do know is, when it talks about the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit having 7 heads and 10 horns, the 10 horns were told, I mean, I read this stuff for years, Rob, and I couldn't make head nor tail of it. But when you go up to Revelation chapter 17 and 18, it actually tells you what these things are. And it tells you, it says, the angel that gave the revelation to John told him, he said, I will show you what these things mean. And he said, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings that will ascend out of the bottomless pit and will receive their power with the beast for 1 hour when he receives his power. So what these other 10 kings are, and kings is just another name for leaders. They could be prime ministers or presidents or heads of state or wherever. It says they're going to receive their power with the beast for 1 hour when he receives his kingdom, his power. So when this guy comes to authority, he is going to be the one world leader. And to know what these 10 heads are brings us back to Daniel chapter 2. You might remember when Nebuchadnezzar had this dream of a statue. Nobody could interpret it. Daniel was the only one who could interpret it, and he told him that the head of gold was the Babylonian Empire, the chest of silver was the Medo-Persian Empire, then the stomach of brass was Alexander the Great, the Greek Empire at that time. Then there was followed by the legs of iron, which were the iron feet of Rome, the Roman Empire. Excuse me. And then he talked about an empire in the far distant future, and it said it was made out of 10 toes, and the 10 toes were made out of iron and clay. And it says the iron will not mix with clay, even as they do not cleave one to another. Iron and clay does not cleave one to another. Then it says they shall mingle their seed with the seed of men. This is talking about these 10 rulers. These 10 other fallen angels are going to rise up with the Antichrist and are going to reign over these 10 geopolitical, supranational geopolitical areas when he comes to power. And the reason it says they're like iron compared to clay is they are going to rule with human politicians. We are the clay. Dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. But compared to these guys when they turn up, we are like clay compared to iron, because they have the strength of the supernatural power, the supernatural ability, because they're spirit beings.
Paddy Sanbai. Paddy Heron is our special guest. He is the author of The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's an ebook available at www.neph.ie, nef.ie. We'll be back on the other side as we wrap up this week here on the X Zone, live and around the world on Talkstar.
Life is busy enough without running around town to find a sale. If you pride yourself on being a smart shopper, you should know about a place that has raised the bar on smart shopping by cutting out the middleman. Direct Buy sells virtually anything for the home or office at manufacturer direct prices. Whether you're updating your current home or building a new one, Direct Buy can save you the thousands of dollars that traditional retailers use to pad their prices. Buy direct from over 700 top manufacturers at 30, 40, even 50% off the best retail prices on almost everything you need. Whatever it is you're shopping for, appliances, cabinets, flooring, windows, and more, every time you buy, you're going to get the best quality at the best price with Direct Buy. But you have to become a member. To get a visitor's pass to a local showroom and a free insider's guide to buying direct, call 800-593-2124 today. Again, that's 800-593-2124. 800-593-2124. Call now.
Are you getting tired of all the bad news? Well, then take a break from the worries of the world and play the love game. It's time to focus on what is really important in our lives, our relationships. You deserve more love, happiness, and harmony in your life. Synchro Hearts is the new hot relationship game that guarantees more love, laughter, and romance for you and your partner. It's not a sex game, it's a love game based on all the important relationship stuff like better communication, more intimacy, and lots of fun and excitement. Great intimacy is just one of the benefits of playing Synchro Hearts. Now, President Obama inspires hope, love, and peace for the world. Synchro Hearts offers more hope, love, and harmony for relationships. To order your very own edition of Synchro Hearts, visit Synchro Hearts' website now at www.synchrohearts.com. That's www.synchrohearts.com. Synchro Hearts. It's the game you love to play and play to love. Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking all our guests tonight. In the first hour, Andre Nierenberger and I discussed his new book entitled Through My Eyes, and he is one of the Holocaust's youngest survivors. Hour number 2, Dr. William Schneid and I discussed the death of Michael Jackson. Hour number 3, John Keane and I spoke with the X-Zone Nation, and John did psychic readings for everyone who gave us a call. And my guest this hour is Paddy Heron, and he is the author of a new ebook that is available, The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It's available at www.neph.ie. That's www.neph.ie. Paddy, as always, it's a great pleasure talking to you. But I have to ask you this. You addressed the North American Union. People talk about the North American Union all the time, and do you believe that there are groups who work in secret to bring the North American Union about?
Absolutely, Rob, and this ties in with just the last point I was making before the last break. This is the New World Order. We have the Lisbon Treaty over here, which we voted no for last year, but now we have to do it again. Mm-hmm. We have to vote yes this year, but that's going to go ahead. This is this 10 super nation state that the world is going to be split into. The North America will be one, South America will be another, Europe will be another, Russia will be another, China will be another. There will be 10 of them under the power of this coming political leader. And these other 10 geopolitical regions, the world will be split into 10, and are going to be ruled by these 10 other fallen angels together with human politicians. And that is the feat. That is the 10 toes made of clay and iron. That is the New World Order, and that's exactly politically what's happening all over the world today at the moment. And it's all being pushed by the New World Order, guys. We didn't have time to get into the USA and prophecy and where these guys are going to reign from. As I say, it's all over Revelation chapter 17 and 18, but perhaps we could do that again, Rob.
Paddy, as always, you're more than welcome to any time. We'll send you some dates because I would love to have you back on to finish this amazing discussion that we're having tonight. So, Paddy, from everyone here at the X-Zone, thanks very much for joining us. I wish you much success, and I look forward to having you on maybe next week or the week after. Okay, Rob, that's great. And as I say, folks can go to my website and read the introduction to my new book, which is just $5 to download. And the reason it's so cheap, and I did an e-book, was I needed to get this information out very fast and make it very affordable to everybody who wants to know what's coming down the tracks. Paddy, take care of yourself. Regards to your family, and the next time you're in an Irish pub, have one for me. Absolutely. I'll have a few pints of Guinness tonight, Rob. Thanks, buddy. Take care of yourself, Paddy. God bless. Dr. Patrick Heron has been our guest this hour. His new ebook is entitled The Return of the Antichrist and the New World Order. It is $5 to download at www.nef.ie, and we'll get Dr. Heron back here either next week or the week after at the very latest. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone, and this week. Wow, 5 days come and gone. Let's see, 5 days, 4 guests, 20 new people here on the X-Zone. Hey, to my producer at Master Control, the one and only Sir Alec. Alec, thanks very much for keeping us up on those 4 big birds on the sky. Galaxy 4R, Telstar 7, Aglia 2, and on G3. And on TalkStarRadio.com, streaming audio. To my wife and senior producer, the lovely Laura Rogers, thank you, sweetheart. To all the staff here at the X-Zone Radio Show and X-Chronicles newspaper, and Relmar, thanks, guys, for all your support. And to the radio stations around the world that carry the X-Zone, thank you for allowing us to be part of your station and your network. So until Monday night, have a great weekend, everyone, and always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.